It was a cold winter night in July of 1990. A late train pulled into Kananook Station, a quiet stop on the Frankston line in Victoria, Australia. Dozens of passengers stepped off that train and walked home. One did not. 23-year-old Sarah MacDiarmid should have made it to her red Honda Civic, which was parked in the car park just beyond the footbridge. She never did. Within minutes, she was gone, leaving behind only a locked car, a lighter on the ground, and traces of blood on the asphalt. No one saw where she went. No one heard more than a single scream. In the 35 years since that night, not one piece of evidence has explained how a young woman could vanish between a train platform and her car. This is the story of the disappearance of Sarah MacDiarmid. Most disappearances begin with conflict, an argument, a secret, or a plan to leave. But Sarah's story began with routine. After work, she played tennis with friends in Melbourne. They laughed, said goodbye, and caught the late train home. Sarah changed lines at Caulfield and continued south toward Frankston. Her friends stepped off at Bond Beach, waving as the doors closed. Sarah had only one stop left, Kananook Station. From the platform, her car was a short walk away. She needed to cross the footbridge, pass a patch of low scrub, and walk through a dimly lit car park. The night was still and quiet. The lamps cast narrow cones of light, leaving long stretches of shadow between them. It was so quiet that you could hear your own breath. Sarah stepped off the train and began the short walk to her car. Somewhere between the footbridge and the driver's door, she disappeared. Witnesses later recalled hearing a woman's voice raised in frustration. One remembered a voice saying, "Give me back my keys." Another remembered, "Stop fooling around." Then there was a brief struggle, followed by a single scream, and then silence. When Sarah did not come home, her family became concerned. By midnight, her brother drove to Kananook Station to look for her. Her car was still there, parked neatly under the light. The doors were locked, the boot was locked, and the keys were missing. On the ground near the driver's door lay a small lighter. It was the only clue, and it filled him with dread. At first light, police arrived at the station. They found blood on the asphalt beside Sarah's car and more beneath a nearby vehicle. A faint drag mark led from the car park into the brush, but stopped after only a few meters. There was no purse, no bag, and no sign of Sarah. The struggle had lasted only seconds. The night had hidden the rest. For days, police scoured the area. They searched the brush beside the tracks, the nearby reserve, and the waterways beyond. Helicopters circled overhead while volunteers combed through the scrub. Police dogs followed what little scent they could find, but it ended at the edge of the car park. There were no footprints, no clothing, and no trail that lasted past daylight. It was as if the ground itself had swallowed her. The question soon changed. It was no longer, where did she go? It became, how does someone move another person away from a place like this without leaving a trace? As the days passed, theories began to form. The first theory was that of an opportunist, someone watching the late-night trains and waiting for the right moment. This person could have noticed Sarah walking alone, struck quickly, and escaped in a vehicle parked nearby. The attack would have been fast and silent. The second theory was that she knew her attacker. Perhaps it was someone familiar, a face she recognized, a voice she trusted, A friendly exchange might have turned into a confrontation that spiraled out of control. The third theory was darker. Some investigators described what they call a predator of place, a person who studies the design of public spaces, learning where light fades and sound dies. They know how long a scream travels beneath a bridge, and how easily fear disappears in the gaps between streetlights. If such a person was at Kananook Station that night, they knew exactly how to make someone vanish. Each theory explained part of what might have happened, but none could answer the question that has haunted investigators for decades. Where is Sarah? Over the years, police interviewed several men with histories of violence who lived along the Frankston line. Some were already linked to other crimes, but every lead unraveled. There was no forensic evidence to connect anyone to Sarah's disappearance. The case stopped where the drag marks ended, at the edge of the bush, where darkness erased everything else. As the investigation went cold, the MacDiarmid family kept searching. They spoke to the media, renewed appeals, and clung to hope that someone someday would remember something. Cold cases do not die. They harden. Evidence decays. Witnesses forget, but questions remain, unanswered and heavy. If you have ever stood at a suburban station late at night, you know the feeling. The lights gather in small pools and fade between them. The air hums faintly with electricity. Sound bounces off concrete, then disappears into the dark. It feels safe because it is familiar. You trust the pattern. Train, footbridge, car, home. You follow it because it has always worked. But trust can break in an instant. Kananook was not unusual. It was ordinary, and that is what makes it terrifying. For Sarah's family, time has moved differently. Days have become years, and years have become decades. Hope has changed shape, but it has never completely disappeared. They still say her name. They still wait for answers. Every anniversary and every appeal is a reminder that the story isn't finished. Sarah was 23 years old. She was bright, dependable, and full of plans. Then, between one step and the next, she was gone. Even now, the station looks much the same. The trains still come and go. The footbridge still creaks in the wind. The parking lot still glows beneath scattered lamps. If you stand there long enough, you can feel it, the stillness, the unease, the quiet weight of something that happened and never left. It is as if the place remembers but refuses to speak. Somewhere between the light and the shadow, someone took a life and walked away. The scene remains, and the silence endures. Cases like this do not solve themselves. They move only when people do. If you lived along the Frankston line in July of 1990, or if you were at Kananook Station that night, please come forward. If you remember anything, a car parked where it shouldn't have been, a voice, a scream, or a story someone told you years later when they thought time had made it safe to talk, contact the police. Reach out to Victoria Police or Crime Stoppers Victoria. Links to both are in the description. Even the smallest detail, a face, a memory, or a familiar routine could finally break 35 years of silence. Sarah MacDiarmid stepped off a train, crossed from light into shadow, and vanished. But the night that took her is still here. Somewhere, someone knows why. If this story moved you, share it. The more people who hear Sarah's name, the closer her family may come to answers. If you want to help keep stories like this alive, please like this video so more people can find it. Comment below if you have theories or memories of that night. And subscribe to Track 13 Mysteries for more unsolved cases where light and darkness still meet. Together, we can keep these stories from fading, because silence only wins when no one is listening.